Look at you, man. What's going on, brother?
Whew, we are getting ready to do one of the craziest rack and stacks because not only are we doing three today, starting off with our good friend Joe, but we're also going to be talking to our buddy Ben Gay, the third today. So it's going to be a busy day of rack and stack and meetings.
It's just like rack and stack again, and then what a way to finish it up. You and I and the legendary Ben Gay the third.
We could not be luckier if we tried, Randy.
We could not. We could not.
You know what? Luck has nothing to do with it. Blessed. We couldn't be more blessed.
Blessed
if we
right.
if we tried.
This is true because if we follow anything that we talk about, which we probably should, you put yourself in positions to be able to do the stuff that we do, right? So it's not luck, it's blessed though. It's still blessed when it happens. We're still blessed to have Ben, for example, as a friend, and in some of the conversations we're going to have with him today. But it's more blessed than it is lucky because we all reached out and we all became friends and we all made the effort to do those things. So it's that whole networking thing, right? It's huge.
Absolutely. I was just talking to someone today, and they said that if the same people are constantly, engaging with you on your posts, then you're doing something wrong. You got to get out of your fishbowl into, increasingly larger bodies of water as time goes on, because if you don't, everything will die on the vine. So you got to continually grow.
Write that down. I'll wait, because if we ever, I don't know, do something silly, like write a book together or something silly like that, that'd be a great statement in there. I like that.
It's something that I already am writing in my own book. Okay. But I will tell you that sharing it in the book, that we'll let the cat out of the bag with you guys. Randy and I are not only writing a book together on building wins, but we're also going to be doing a book with Mr. Ben Gay the third as part of the closers. So.
Wow. That's true. We are, aren't we?
Yeah, and I have to, do this, Randy, because I still don't believe it.
Well, we still got time to screw it up, so just easy.
We do, but you know what? All this book talk is awesome, but we've got an awesome guest waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I know.
How and bring them on?
Yeah, let's talk, because I'll tell you, Joe and I go way back, so let's get Dr. Joe on and quit.
The doctor's in the house.
The doctor is in the house. I like that. All right, I'm gonna go get an apple. That'll keep him away. All right, that was cheesy and bad. All right, so go.
All right.
Hey, the doctor is in the house.
Hello there.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
It'd be tough to be any better. I got to chat with you for 30 minutes. We haven't done this since about a month ago in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, probably so.
Yep. So, but I appreciate you being on. So, folks, this is the legendary. I think we can use that word. Dr. Joe Zulovich. Is it legendary? Well, that works, doesn't it, for you?
Yeah, it works pretty good.
Yeah, I like that.
I've been around University of Missouri for over 30 years, so that makes me an old timer.
It does. 30 years becomes from legendary into old timer. Somewhere in between, there's a fine line, right?
Yep, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I made mention when we chatted quick on pre-show that I love your office because that looks very professor-ish, if that's a word.
Yep. Yeah, the pile files and keeping things going. The interesting thing that I found is when I started my career, a friend and colleague said everything comes back around in 20 or 30 years. So I'm starting to see things come back around.
There you go.
So what was a new idea 20, 25 years ago sometimes comes back as a new idea again.
There you go. And when you already have it there, you're already ahead of the game, aren't you?
Yep. And sometimes it's like it was a good idea then, and sometimes it was just a matter of materials or techniques to implement them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes around and works. And then there's some other things that wasn't a good idea then, and it's still not a good idea.
so then you put them back in a file somewhere and hope you find them 10 years later, right?
Yeah. Or at least you got a place to start to say why it's good or why it's not so good.
Exactly. Well, so folks, if you don't know Dr. Joe or Joe, Uh, he's where I met. We met was through the NFBA several years ago, and for most of you know that I'm blessed to be on the board of the Buckeye Frame Builders Association and also the National Frame Builders Association, which is truly is a blessing. Outstanding organization, and Joe, you've been involved for so many years and bring so much technical expertise and background that the industry needs. And so today I thought it'd be great for us to maybe first introduce a little bit more about your background and what you do. And let's talk NFBA for a while today and what we've been working on as a board and what you've been working on individually to really bring some of the great things. I got a little postcard here, a little glare of my light, but we've been really working on, and you've been instrumental in the educational certification programs. So I guess I'll start. We could do where's Waldo, but maybe let's do who is Dr. Joe.
Oh, my background, I'm a traditionally trained agricultural engineer, and so that gives me background in a lot of different subject areas. And I define agricultural engineering as applying engineering principles to the problems of agriculture. And so there's agricultural machinery, which I've not done a whole lot with, but all types of structures and facilities and buildings I've done a lot over the years. So all of your ag buildings, grain storage, if it's got a roof, I probably know how to deal with, and may have dealt with just about everything. Uh, Deal with water issues, and so surface water runoff can be a challenge. And I've got background with that and how you manage that, so you don't have water in your facility. Nothing like having water in your building, is there?
No,
When it's not supposed to be there.
exactly. Kind of like in a ship, the water's way better on the outside, right?
On the outside, that's exactly right. So how do you keep water out of the building? Uh, Background in handling moisture issues within structures. As the post frame industry has evolved, we're doing a lot more finishing in the sense of insulating and finishing for small commercial, retail, residential applications, where you're actually finishing the facility with by insulating and finished interior surface. And so there's challenges with that you need to be aware of, as well as the general structural design and construction.
So that was a very long way of saying I'm just a smart dude.
Well, could be.
Right.
I've done a lot of different things over the years, know how to
Okay.
approach things. So
yeah, you do it, Joe. You can go ahead and admit you're smart. It's my show, and I'm the host, and I said you could, so you can
all right,
roll with
fair
it.
enough.
All right. Well, so let's really dive in today with what's been happening. As I've talked to different, anytime I get a chance to talk to anybody, I'm blessed, as I mentioned, to be involved with the National Frame Builders Association. And as I've got to be involved and see firsthand the effort that goes into trying to make this association better, and by doing so make the industry better, right? I just made a note here. It comes from an article I wrote for some magazine here back a while ago, talking about barndominiums and a lot of things going on out in the world of post-frame buildings, and to steal from an old Oldsmobile commercial, right? It's not your father's Oldsmobile, right? And I love that saying back in the time. And I think that really fits in our industry today, because while there still is the more utilitarian pole barn, that's just kind of a cheaper, easy to throw up out back to store some stuff. There's always a lot of that, right? But as we expand as an industry with more elaborate builds, it's really important that as an industry and as an association that supports the industry, we do all we can to help train, teach, and educate and bring people into the 21st century and beyond, right? And I think
Correct.
that's a lot of what we've been doing together as a board. And I'd really like to maybe just keep quiet here for a minute if I can, and let you chat about what we've been doing and the purpose behind it and the certification program and some of these things. So, you know, I'm gonna flip my mic up so I don't interrupt and walk us through this a little bit, Joe.
Sure. Well, the post frame has evolved quite a bit over the last 15, 20 years. Uh, Initially, we designed post frame buildings as a two-dimensional system where we worked with uh, being able to carry the loads, but the deflection or the movement of the frame was not something that we were able to deal with very well. Then, as what's called diaphragm action has evolved, we can now control for how much the structure moves under full load conditions. And with diaphragm action, we've been able to minimize that deflection, which has allowed us to do much more um, complete finishing. We've been able to build buildings with lots of windows. If your structure flexes too much, you end up breaking windows. But with the diaphragm design procedures that it's important to that have been incorporated, and we can minimize that movement and allow for very nice open small commercial, different types of wedding venue structures, worship facilities, different things that allowed us to go. And so when you're doing that, you can incorporate the design, but then also there was the challenge. Uh, the industry and the board was looking at how to train new employees for the construction process. But I got involved not only to help them from that perspective, but also in order for the designs that an engineer puts together to have them be successful, you got to build it right and build it according to plan. And so having the background and the understanding for the worker, for the person driving the nails and various other things on the construction site to have an appreciation for why things have to be the way they are. You know, it if the connection says it takes 5 nails, you put 5 nails in, not 4, because you're getting tired. But so that's kind of the holistic approach, if you will, that I think is important. That we not only, if you're not a designer, you have a bit of an appreciation for how the design is put together and why it's the way it is, so then you can have an excellent product when you're all said and done.
And what I really enjoy about what you just said is so important is I think we've been very active in the board. I say we well before I was on uh, in upping the image of post frame of helping and working with the designers. But I really love where we're going right now of putting a few more teeth into the training for, as you said, the guy on the job site, right? Because everything is the old chain is the weakest link of the chain, right? And you can train engineers and they can design the best building with all the proper deflection, all the right stuff, right? But if that doesn't translate to that guy going, I'm going to put 3 to 4 nails instead of 5 because I'm tired and I didn't get my candy bar last night and I don't have any beer at home and I hate my life, right? That's going to fail, or at least have the potential for not living up to the expectations that we place on post frame, right? So I think it's
Correct.
really important that we do what we're doing.
Yep. Yeah. That it's. Um, I've adopted a series of thought processes in presentations that I've done. Is um, a 5-step process of the site, and the site's going to dictate how you design, and then you have to construct according to the design, and then operate and maintain that facility according to the design and things like that. So it's a holistic approach that, you know, your site may dictate what you can incorporate in your design. Um, you could think about it from the side as surface water, but as I've done a lot of ag ventilation, if we want to depend on natural ventilation, which basically in the summertime is depending on the wind, and if your site doesn't have much wind, you're going to have problems. So you
Right.
may have to consider a different design. Where if you've got a site that the wind is quite strong all the time, then an open-sided building works out very nicely. So it's site, design, construct, operate, and maintain. And who's seen an operator's manual for a building? They don't they
They don't
don't
exist. I
exist.
was just saying
Exactly.
nobody, because they're not there, right?
The closest thing you get to an operator's manual is if your building is commissioned, where the air conditioning and furnace and ventilation is checked out to be delivering what it's supposed to. But the person who was there as the building operator, if they were there for the commissioning, they may have an idea of why things are the way they are. But when that person leaves and the next person comes in, they may not have any idea why it's got to run that way. And so you have some challenges, and that's something that I've thought about. How do you make a owner's manual, if you will? And part of it, from a structural perspective, I think is having the plans that were developed during the design process and construction that could be part of that operator's manual, if you will, of how was the building designed, what were the plans used, the design generated the plans, and the plans generated the construction. So that could be a piece of, and so having that as a historical document for your facility would be a nice start, at least from the structural side, how things are supposed to be.
You know, when I heard you say that, that really set a light bulb off, because you think about it as a builder out there that wants to really set themselves apart. Besides going through the certification program, becoming accredited, but if you had that owner's manual, that's something that probably Billy Bob down the road may not have, right? And if you can offer that, because like you said, just because the building is complete and ready to go today, when I give you the keys and walk away, doesn't mean your responsibility as an owner, if you want a building owner, if you want this to last a long, long time and serve you in the way that you expect it to, your job as an owner, as the building owner, is not done yet, right? I mean, that's the life. It's no different than a car. You still got to go get an oil change, I think,
Right.
right?
Yep. And the other thing that can happen with buildings is, when the building is new, it had a certain intended purpose, and that purpose was met through the building design. But now you've gone down the road and the business that was in the building is changing, or a new business comes in. Does the facility meet the needs of the new ownership, or what are going to be the new needs for the new occupant? And sometimes the challenge that I've seen is not so much that the building design was bad, or the systems put in were bad. It's just that the occupants change, their needs changed, and the building system around them wasn't adjusted to then meet their needs.
Well, that makes sense. So, so coming back, I'm really intrigued by your thought process here, because if if that building now is a new owner, or even existing owners change the plan, whatever their use of the building was, to to have that owner's manual, if you will, whatever that looks like, to have a place to start where maybe they go to the code officials, maybe they go to their contractor, maybe they go to an engineer and they say, hey, I'm going to a whole different use here. But we don't have to start with zero. We start with, here's exactly how the building was built and exactly why it was built this way, right? And you just put yourself miles and miles ahead in that process, right? I would think. I mean, there's a lot more brilliance to this than what even you thought, which I'm sure you thought it through, because like you're a professor and stuff.
Well, one of the things that catches folks is you have your storage shed out in out back. You've got the building that you've been storing some things, and now you want to come back and make a man cave. Now you have and make it that we can sleep there, so you have a getaway. And now all of a sudden you have a mixed use building. And once you start into the human occupancy side of things, there's a whole new set of opportunities you have to reach. And I'm not, some people call them challenges or roadblocks, but sometimes from a positive perspective, you can think about them as opportunities
Right.
and work through from there. So that, that change in use from being a generic storage building to, a living space, man cave kind of thing, um, are, are things that you've got to be careful on and understand that when you start changing the use of a building, there may be some new requirements that you've got to figure out how to address.
So, and I think that's an important factor for contractors that may not think about this, may not be involved in post frame a lot, or a business owner or homeowner, whatever the case may be. It's not always just as simple as I'm going to change the use of this building. I'm going to throw up a couple walls, insulate a wall or two, mount a TV, and I've changed the use. It might be that easy, but we don't know that, right? Until you
Right.
dig into the background.
Yeah, and it's all in, are you out in a rural area where you do pretty much what you want, and your insurance adjuster becomes your code enforcement, because they'll say, yeah, I'll insure this, or no, I won't,
Yep.
kind of thing, versus if you're in a metro area or where codes are enforced, you may have some like I said, some other opportunities to meet those codes when you do a change in the use of building. Another change that is one to think about is the use of if you're a structural builder, you build the post frame building, but then somebody else comes in and does the insulation and those kinds of things. And it'd be good to make sure that, for example, that the trusses that were used and installed, was there a ceiling load incorporated in the design of the truss? And if you're coming back with a ceiling and 10 inches of insulation, that's a load that the truss may or may not have been designed to handle. So those are some of the things that when you start changing the use, what was your what how was it put together? What were the limitations or contingencies, if you will, that were incorporated in the design from there? And so sometimes if you think you may ever run into a building that you're going to fully insulate and have a ceiling, it'd probably be well worth the effort to have those trusses designed to have the ceiling, even though they may not see the ceiling in the first 5 years of its use or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Plan ahead for a little bit because it'd be interesting. I'm sure there may not be a statistic out there because it'd probably be a tough one to apply a statistic to, because there's not a lot of reporting in our industry, right, compared to some. But how many buildings that were built 20, 30 years ago are actually being used today for the original intended use? It probably would surprise us how many have changed uses, or usage, I guess would be the right word, over the last 10, 15, 20 years. It's probably more than we think. Wouldn't you think, Joe?
Well, probably, and I would categorize by initial use. For example, if it was an agricultural production building, chances are it's still doing what it was designed to do and supporting that type of operation, because production ag typically doesn't change a
Right.
whole lot. A house of worship uh, that use some sort of post frame and some laminated rafters and things like that. As long as it's still a church, if you will, probably hasn't changed much. A market sector that I think is rarely has a 20-year single use person is your commercial, your light commercial buildings. Um, Chances are there's probably over 20-year period, there may have been 2, 3, 4, 5 different tenants in that space. And, as long as their building need has been similar, then you're all right. But if it's changed, you have some challenges.
Right.
You may have a retail space that was used for dry good retail, and that retailer went out and somebody came in with a doggy daycare. Well, the ventilation and building needs for the doggy daycare are very different than what it was for the dry good retail.
Exactly.
And so, but yet it's in the same strip mall, if you will, that was initially a post frame structure.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, Joe, let's, if you don't mind,
Sure.
not really switch gears, but yeah, what about, let's talk about, let's talk about the online educational certification program that you've been so actively involved putting together with the National Frame Builders Association. I mean, I think this is a home run on what's available, and kudos to you. And I want to say it here for everybody, anybody that gets involved with this, the man right here is chief guy behind it, along with a lot of other people. I'm not saying you're the only one by
Sure.
means, but you've been very, very involved with this, and along with the whole tech committee and everybody else. Tell us, I guess, as we kind of wind down, because you've been very, very kind with your time, and I'm sure you got to go educate some folks today, besides us here on this show. What was the genesis behind this, and why do we do it? And what's the advantage, and what is a post frame builder going to get out of this program?
Well, I think the genesis was the need for training new on-site construction folks, and the need to get people excited early in their lives. And so it was tailored to be able to go into the high school. If there's a high school construction program that doesn't have any post frame components, this could provide that. So that was kind of the genesis, or what kind of got things started. But then as we put it together, the tricky part was how do you build certain connections and how you do things. That's when I knew we were going to get into some interesting discussions when we got into the details. Well, how do you build the truss post connection joint? And there's a lot of different correct ways of doing it depending on the design, but the design for the project should come from the plan. And that's how the whole importance of being able to read plans from a construction standpoint. And chapter 4 in the textbook focuses on plans, on reading plans. So the benefit to a builder is now you've got an opportunity to get everybody in your organization speaking the same language. Every industry's got a lingo, if you will. And post frame is no different. There's a certain lingo. And so we have terminology so everybody can talk about they say a term, the laminated post or something, or your wall girt or whatever you want. Everybody knows what that means. And it's not only important for the on-site construction guy, but maybe your office support person who takes the calls from the on-site crews, and they say they need XYZ materials. Does the office person know what they're talking about? So they get the right stuff delivered. So, working that, having a way to get everybody speaking the same language, I think is a benefit to an organization. Sometimes naturally it comes along easily, but if your employees are changing or whatever, it's how to get them up to speed so they're not lost, if you will. Right. And then understanding there are some sections in the curriculum that talk about the design, if you will, and why it's important to have some of that, so you have a little bit of an appreciation for understanding why you do things the way you do. So those would be some things that I think would be a benefit to the building company.
So tell us about the program itself. It's available online, or they
Yes,
can get a hard copy and
they at this point in time, and we've had discussions, but right now the textbook is a hard copy.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where that was a place to start. We have talked about making it available electronically. Um, we haven't decided exactly when and how to do it, but then there's a curriculum that was or the study guides were developed to um, point to help people understand the important things in the various chapters. And so the study guide was put together, and it followed the model that was in place back when I started my career in extension as a home study course, where you have reading material, you have, if you will, worksheets or questions to answer based on that material, and then it's turned in. And so we have the study guide, and then we have the reference manual or the answer manual that provides the answers, or the answers we were hoping that you'd find for the various questions, and where in the book you could find it if you're like, nah, I don't believe it, but then it's in the book. and, and go from there. So I worked at making sure that the kinds of questions that were being asked were not only relevant to the builder, because the some builders and were involved in developing the curriculum, not so much writing the questions, but making sure that I was asking questions that were relevant.
Sure.
And we made sure we had those relevant explanations in the book. So that was the initial phase. Now the online part is is such that it's the same study guide that's hard copy, but it's available online. And the nice part about it available online is it will self-grade. So the person taking the study questions or answering the study questions gets immediate feedback on whether they answered it correctly or incorrectly. And if they answered it incorrectly, there are prompts or additional information on why the answer that you picked wasn't there, and where to go find it in the book. So the online study guide is a blend of the workbook, if you will, with the answers. But it's not like the answers are already there. You have to answer the question and go from there. Right. So that's the online concept from that. Then we have two separate certification exams, a level 1 and a level 2. Those at this time are available online only. And here within University of Missouri Extension, I have access to the Canvas online teaching platform that is the same platform that's been used for residential instruction at University of Missouri for a number of years. And about 2 years ago now, it became available through University of Missouri Extension. And so that allowed for the online part. And so the two exams are, well, it'd be just like taking an exam when you go for your driver's license. You got to pass the rules. You may have to answer questions. So it's that kind of a format that that's there. And so the level 1 addresses 5 chapters out of the book, the fundamental stuff that entry-level folks would need to know. And then the level 2 is in essence all 9 chapters of the textbook from there. And so the thought process is some of the employers Um, it'd be a way to get a new employee oriented, and they could pass level one, and maybe receive a salary bump when they get themselves verified that they're understanding the lingo and the basics and that kind of stuff. And then uh, from the standpoint of a more advanced employee, somebody who's would uh, instead of being a laborer on site would like to move up to be a foreman on a construction site, that it would provide them the background information to be able to be an effective foreman. And then by passing the level 2 exam, then they've verified that they have at least the knowledge base uh, from that standpoint. Now, whether they can effectively apply that knowledge as a foreman, that's another issue, but
Right.
at least they have the foundational information and knowledge base to be successful. And that's kind of how those pieces are put together.
Well, I can tell you, Joe, it's I'm gonna hold it up again because it's an incredibly good program, and I think it's something the industry's needed. And just for anybody watching, if you can go to nfba.org and sign up for the program, would that be correct, Joe?
Yes, there is the uh, the curriculum on the site, and then that curriculum provides you some background information, and then it provides you a link into signing up if you want to do it online, to sign up through University of Missouri Extension.
Correct. Got it. But it all started at nfba.org. That's where they need to
Correct.
start.
That's the easiest place to start.
Got it. Got it. And I will say I'm holding this card up a lot. I've got a bunch of them here. If anybody would like a card or like to know how, other than to go to the nfba.org, please reach out. Let me know. I'll be happy to help guide you in the right direction, because I do think that we need to take advantage of this as an industry. And I think it's one of the, people say, what do associations bring to the table? A lot of things, but this one is a grassroots, something that you can, a meat and potatoes type thing, right? That just brings real super value that you can actually see, touch, feel. And so I think the more we can get that message out there to people in the industry, and like you said, Joe, early on, that I think is really important is that we get to these younger folks that understand, because I'm a big believer in the trades. There's college per se, as in getting your bachelor's and MBAs and stuff, whatever that stuff is right for a lot of people.
Right.
But it's not right for a lot of people, and we got a whole lot of jobs out there that need to be taken care of, that you can make good money, have a nice life. And I think this helps let people know, maybe at a younger age, even at that high school level or younger, that, hey, there's nothing wrong with, maybe I should be a post frame builder. Maybe I want to go work for somebody, and this is what I want to do. And maybe that dream is to own my own company someday. I think that's a dream that we need to help foster, as opposed to, maybe saying, well, the only thing you can do is just go to college for 4 years or 6 years or 8 years, right? That's
Sure.
the right spot for the right people. But I think we do a good job of bringing this back to people, that this might be a better avenue, right?
Yeah, and as I've advised young folks over the years, there's three aspects of any activity, for lack of a better term: the how, the what, and the why. Your trades focus on the what and the how. Your college is going to focus on the why and the what. You might get a little bit of the how, but it depends. And so where are your interests as a young person? Are you most interested in the how and understanding a little bit of the what? And with our curriculum, we're hoping that we add a little bit of why into that, so you have an appreciation for that. But if your interests are the what and the why, then maybe a college education might be a little more
Mm-hmm.
fits a little bit. But in order for a business to be successful, I think you need people in the organization that understand the how, the what, and the why.
Correct.
And it's that blend of the how, what, and why that makes successful businesses,
There you
from
go.
my perspective.
No, I full-heartedly agree. Well, Joe, you've been very kind with your time. I appreciate you coming on today. I think we're going to see each other soon again, virtually again. I think we have a committee meeting or something coming up pretty soon.
Probably,
But
I think something like tomorrow, maybe.
I think maybe I saw that in my calendar. we could just hang out here until tomorrow if you want, and just be ready. We'll be first on this time instead of
Yeah.
last. And then probably in San Francisco, and then we will see. Here's a good chance to advertise the NFBA. Boy, I got a
Mhm.
bad light here, but we'll be together April 2nd through the 4th in beautiful Knoxville, Tennessee,
Yep.
where we always have a board meeting and another great show coming up, another great opportunity to showcase this industry that we've kind of grown to love, right?
Yep.
So, Joe, thank you again. Any parting words? Any should ask questions that I might have forgot as we went through? Wes always
Uh,
reminds me because I always forget something.
no, I think we're good. Maybe one of these, when we go down the road a little bit and there's a certain hot button that comes up, maybe we could do another one,
I
another
always would do
show.
another one. I always would do. You get to come back to this show for two reasons. Either you're incredibly great, or you really sucked. and so you've already passed. So you get to come back because you're great. How's that?
All right, sounds good.
All right, Joe. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir. We'll
You're welcome.
catch up tomorrow.
All righty,
All
take
right.
care.
See you. All right. Yeah, folks. If you're in the post frame industry at all, man, you got to follow Joe. Dr. Joe is a fountain. I know it's a font, but I like to talk weird at times. Of incredible information. Been so beneficial to the industry in general and to the National Frame Builders Association, the NFBA. And so check this out. It's a great program. If you're in any part of the industry, whether you've been in it a long time or just getting involved, it's a program that you need to take a look at. So to get out of here, because we're in Rack and Stack Day, man, 3 of them today. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. I like to keep Wes working hard. So remember this. I say it every time: live it, love it, own it. And I'm doing exactly what I'm telling you here. So I live what I talk about, which is love what you do and do what you love. That's what we're doing right here. And while you're at it, why don't you go make today your best day ever? Till tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.